There comes a moment in life when you look around and realize you're surrounded by people, yet you feel completely unseen. You show up for them, you support them, you make sacrifices, but deep down you know they don't truly value you. They take your presence for granted. They take your kindness as weakness, and they take your loyalty as something they're entitled to. And the most dangerous part is you start believing this is normal. You start convincing yourself that it's better to stay close to them than to risk being alone. But let me ask you something. What is the price you're paying for that? What does it cost you to keep walking with people who don't see your worth? Every time you silence yourself so they won't feel uncomfortable, you're losing a piece of your own voice. Every time you lower your standards to keep them around, you're teaching yourself that your standards don't matter. And every time you accept less than you deserve, you are quietly telling the world that this is all you are worth. Here's the truth that most people don't want to face. It is far better to walk alone in your truth than to walk with a crowd that diminishes you. Because when you stand alone, yes, it may feel uncomfortable, it may feel quiet, it may feel uncertain, but it is in that very space that you begin to discover your real strength. You learn who you are without the noise, without the opinions, without the weight of those who only drain you. Standing alone doesn't mean you are weak. It doesn't mean you're unlovable. It means you're brave enough to choose yourself when others don't. It means you refuse to keep begging for a seat at a table where your presence isn't appreciated. And it means you trust that sometimes walking alone is the only path that will eventually lead you to the people who truly value you. So the question is, will you keep surrounding yourself with people who only see your presence as convenient? Or will you finally choose the courage to walk alone until you find those who honor your worth? Because the moment you decide, everything changes. When you stay around people who don't value you, it's not just about enduring their behavior in the moment. There is a hidden cost that eats away at you little by little until one day you look in the mirror and barely recognize yourself. You start off thinking, it's fine, they didn't mean it, maybe I'm being too sensitive. You brush off the comments, you excuse the lack of appreciation, you minimize the dismissals. But every time you let it slide, something inside you shifts. Your standard for how you should be treated gets lower and lower, and before you know it, you've built a life around people who make you feel invisible. The cost of staying where you're not valued shows up in your self-esteem. At first, you might feel confident and sure of who you are, but the longer you tolerate people who don't respect your worth, the more you start to second-guess yourself. You begin to wonder if maybe they're right, maybe your ideas aren't that good. Maybe you really are asking for too much. Maybe your presence doesn't matter as much as you thought. That's how disrespect and lack of value works. It doesn't just hurt in the moment, it plants seeds of doubt that grow into insecurity. And once you start doubting yourself, you lose your voice. You shrink, you play small, all to avoid rocking the boat with people who don't even see the boat you're in. It doesn't stop there. There's also the cost of your energy. Being around people who don't value you is exhausting. You are constantly pouring into them, showing up, giving your time, giving your effort, yet the return is empty. You walk away drained instead of filled. You walk away questioning instead of affirmed. And the more you give, the less you seem to receive. That imbalance is a heavy weight to carry, and over time, it steals your joy. Think about it. How many times have you left a conversation or a room full of certain people and felt smaller, weaker, or more tired than before you walked in? That's not a coincidence. That's the cost of staying where you aren't appreciated. Another cost is the opportunity you lose. Every moment you spend walking with people who don't value you is a moment you're not spending with people who could. When you cling to the wrong crowd because you're afraid of being alone, you close the door to better relationships, deeper connections, and environments that would actually help you grow. You're holding space for people who don't deserve it, which means the right people can't enter. Imagine if you spent all that time, energy, and loyalty not on those who drain you, but on yourself, on building, on improving, on finding communities where you're respected. Opportunity cost is massive, and most people never realize it until years have passed and they look back with regret. There's also the cost of your peace of mind. Walking with people who don't value you keeps you in a constant state of unease. You feel like you're walking on eggshells, like you have to prove your worth over and over again just to be accepted. That level of anxiety, even if it's subtle, wears you down. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops. You're working hard, but you're not going anywhere. And the saddest part, you start to normalize the chaos. You think this is just how it is, this is what relationships look like, but deep down, you know it's not. It's just what happens when you stay in places where you're tolerated instead of celebrated. The biggest cost of all, though, is that you lose yourself. Slowly, piece by piece, you abandon who you truly are in order to fit into spaces that don't deserve you. You stop speaking your truth because no one listens. You stop dreaming big because they make you feel foolish. You stop shining too brightly because it threatens their comfort. And eventually you wake up and realize you've been molding yourself to please people who never cared for you in the first place. That's the ultimate tragedy of staying where you're not valued. You trade authenticity for acceptance, and in the process you betray yourself. But here's the reality. You don't have to pay that cost. You don't have to keep handing over your confidence, your energy, your peace, and your identity just to walk with people who were never meant to carry you forward. Standing alone may feel scary, but it's far less expensive than losing yourself piece by piece to people who never saw your worth to begin with. Alone, you have the chance to rebuild. Alone, you can rediscover your voice. Alone, you can choose better company when the time comes. So ask yourself, how much has it already cost you to stay where you're not valued? How many dreams have you put on hold? How much peace have you sacrificed? How much of yourself have you given away just to avoid being alone? And the harder question, how much more are you willing to lose? Because the longer you stay, the higher the price gets. Walking alone isn't easy, but it's freedom. It's choosing your worth over their neglect. It's reclaiming your peace, your energy, your confidence, and your identity. And that's a price worth paying. If you want people to value you, the first step is this. You have to value yourself. Too often, people wait for others to affirm them, to recognize them, to validate who they are. But here's the hard truth. If you don't define your own worth, someone else will. And when other people define your worth, they usually undervalue it. They set the price tag lower than it should be, and you end up selling yourself short without even realizing it. Think about it like this. Imagine you walk into a store and see a diamond sitting on the clearance shelf for a few dollars. You might buy it, but not because you know its true value, only because of the price tag someone else slapped on it. That's what happens when you don't know your worth. People treat you like a discount version of yourself because you've allowed them to set the price. But when you recognize you're a diamond, you stop letting people bargain for pieces of you. You stop letting them take advantage of your loyalty, your time, and your effort. Understanding your value starts with looking inward. It's about asking yourself, who am I when no one is clapping for me? Who am I when no one validates me? If all the approval disappeared tomorrow, what would I still bring to the table? These are the questions that force you to stop attaching your worth to the opinions of others. Because here's the reality, people's opinions change like the wind. One day they celebrate you, the next day they criticize you. If your self-worth rises and falls with their voices, you will spend your whole life chasing a moving target. Self-value is built through self-respect. It's in the choices you make every single day. Do you keep promises to yourself? Do you set boundaries and honor them? Do you speak to yourself with respect, or do you constantly tear yourself down? The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how the world treats you. If you allow yourself to settle, others will settle in how they treat you. If you show that you don't demand respect from yourself, others won't either. Your value is not just something you say, it's something you live out in every decision you make. But here's the challenge. Many people fear valuing themselves because they think it will make them arrogant. They confuse confidence with pride. They've been taught that if they set standards, they're being difficult, or if they speak up, they're being rude. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. There's a difference between thinking you're better than everyone else and knowing you're not less than anyone else. True self-value isn't about looking down on others. It's about refusing to let anyone look down on you. The world is full of people who won't recognize your worth because it threatens them. They'd rather keep you small, silent, and dependent because it makes them feel more powerful. That's why it's dangerous to wait for others to tell you who you are. If you're not careful, You'll start believing their version of you instead of living your truth. Maybe they call you too much, too emotional, too ambitious, too stubborn. But often what they call too much is exactly what makes you powerful. If you don't understand your value, you'll dim your light just to make others comfortable in their darkness. Here's what you need to realize. The way you see yourself teaches others how to see you. If you walk into a room uncertain, apologizing for existing, hoping people accept you, they will treat you like someone who doesn't belong. But if you walk in knowing your presence matters, speaking with conviction, and carrying yourself with quiet confidence, people adjust to your energy. They treat you differently because you've made it clear that you value yourself. And let's be honest, it's not easy. It's not easy to hold your value when people around you don't see it. It's not easy to keep believing in yourself when you're overlooked, ignored, or dismissed. But that's where self-value becomes unshakable. You stop waiting for applause and you start living from a place of certainty. You know your worth whether anyone acknowledges it or not. And that kind of confidence doesn't just change how others see you. It changes how you see yourself. When you understand your value, you stop chasing people. You stop begging them to treat you right. You stop tolerating disrespect just to have company. Instead, you start filtering. You start choosing who gets access to you, because not everyone deserves it. You realize your time is precious, your energy is sacred, and your presence is valuable. And suddenly, you find yourself walking away from situations that once kept you trapped. You stop giving discounts on your worth. Here's the beautiful part. When you value yourself, you naturally attract people who do too. It's like a magnet. People who respect themselves are drawn to others who respect themselves. You won't have to force it, beg for it, or perform for it. The right people will see your value because you've already set the standard. But the wrong people, they'll fall away. And that's not a loss. It's a blessing. So before you expect anyone else to value you, you have to decide who you are, what you deserve, and how you will allow yourself to be treated. That decision is where everything begins. It's the foundation for your confidence, your boundaries, your peace, and your relationships. If you don't build it for yourself, no one will build it for you. You are the one who sets the price tag. You are the one who defines the standard. You are the one who decides whether you're a clearance item or a priceless treasure. And once you understand your value, you'll never again settle for people who don't. One of the hardest decisions you'll ever make in life is choosing to walk alone. It's not because you want isolation, not because you don't need people, but because you refuse to keep walking with those who don't value you. That choice takes courage, more courage than most people ever realize. Because let's be honest, it's easy to stay in a crowd, even if the crowd drains you. It's easy to keep people around, even if they don't truly see your worth, just so you don't have to feel the sting of being alone. But courage isn't about what's easy. Courage is about what's necessary. And sometimes what's necessary is stepping away from the wrong people, even if it leaves you by yourself for a while. We've been conditioned to believe that being alone means being lonely. Society tells you that if you don't have a big circle of friends, if you're not constantly surrounded by people, something is wrong with you. But loneliness and being alone are two very different things. Loneliness is emptiness. It's the ache of feeling unseen, even in a crowd. Being alone, on the other hand, is strength. It's choosing to step away from noise so you can hear your own voice again. Walking alone is not weakness. It's proof that you have enough self-respect to protect your peace, even if no one else is standing beside you. Here's the reality. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs in life only happen when you're willing to walk alone. When you're surrounded by people, their voices, their opinions, their energy, it all influences you, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes you can't even hear what you truly think or feel because you're drowned out by the expectations of others. But when you walk alone, you strip all of that away. You create space to discover who you really are without the noise. That's when clarity comes. That's when strength grows. That's when you find out what you're capable of. But most people never get there because they're too afraid of silence. Silence forces you to face yourself. It forces you to confront the truth about your life, your choices, your fears, your dreams. And for some, that's terrifying. They'd rather stay in unhealthy relationships, fake friendships, and toxic environments than deal with the reality of their own reflection. but courage is choosing the silence anyway. Courage is saying, I'd rather face myself than lose myself in the crowd. Walking alone also teaches you independence. When you no longer rely on the approval or validation of others, you learn how to stand on your own 2 feet. You learn how to trust your own judgment, how to make decisions without needing everyone's opinion, and how to be your own support system when no one else shows up. And here's the beauty of that. Once you learn how to stand alone, you're no longer afraid of losing people. You're no longer controlled by the fear of abandonment. You know that even if everyone else walks away, you'll still be standing. That kind of confidence is unshakable. Of course, it's not easy. Walking alone can feel heavy. You'll question yourself. You'll have nights where the silence feels unbearable. You'll wonder if you made the right choice by letting go of people who didn't value you. But in those moments, remember this: the pain of temporary solitude is far better than the pain of permanent disrespect. Being surrounded by people who don't value you will slowly destroy you, but being alone will build you. It will make you resilient, focused, and strong. And let's not forget, walking alone is often the test before elevation. It's the season where you're being prepared for something greater. You may not see it right away, but the solitude is shaping you. It's stripping away what no longer serves you, so that when the right people, the right opportunities, and the right doors show up, you're ready. You're no longer desperate. You're no longer chasing validation. You're grounded in your worth. And that makes you magnetic to the right kind of relationships. Think of the people you admire most, the ones who built something meaningful, who made an impact, who lived with purpose. Almost every one of them had to walk alone at some point. They had to leave behind the crowd, endure the silence, and trust themselves enough to keep moving forward when no one else believed in them. That's the courage it takes. That's the price of building a life rooted in self-value instead of external validation. So the question becomes, do you have the courage to walk alone? Do you have the strength to step away from what's familiar, even if it leaves you in silence for a while? Do you trust yourself enough to believe that standing alone is not the end of your story, but the beginning of a stronger one? Because when you make that choice, everything changes. You stop begging for space in people's lives who don't value you, and you start creating space for the life you truly deserve. Walking alone doesn't mean you'll be alone forever. It means you're willing to endure the season of solitude so you can eventually walk with those who truly see you. It means you've chosen to bet on yourself instead of clinging to those who never believed in you. And it means you've decided that your peace, your self-respect, and your worth are far too valuable to compromise. Courage isn't about never feeling fear. Courage is about feeling the fear and walking forward anyway. And sometimes that forward step means walking alone. But remember this: every step you take alone is a step toward freedom, toward clarity, and toward the life you were meant to live. One of the biggest traps people fall into is mistaking fake support for genuine value. It's easy to get fooled because on the surface, fake support can look convincing. You'll have people who smile at you, people who clap when you win, people who tell you what you want to hear. But when you look closer, you realize their support isn't rooted in truth. It's rooted in convenience, in appearances, in self-interest. And if you don't learn how to recognize the difference, you'll keep surrounding yourself with people who don't truly value you. Fake support is subtle. It shows up in half-hearted compliments, in people who cheer when you're doing well but disappear. The moment you struggle, it shows up in friends who are around for the fun but vanish when you need real help. It shows up in people who act like they're in your corner, but deep down they're waiting for you to fail so they can feel better about themselves. That's not value. That's not loyalty. That's not love. Genuine value looks completely different. Genuine value is someone who tells you the truth. Even when it's uncomfortable, it's the friend who challenges you to be better, not the one who lets you settle for less. It's the person who celebrates your success without envy and stands beside you in your darkest moments without hesitation. Genuine value isn't loud or showy. It's consistent. It's steady. It's proven over time, not just in moments of convenience. The challenge is that fake support often feels easier to accept. It gives you instant gratification, that little ego boost that makes you feel liked or wanted. But that's short term. Real value sometimes feels harder because it pushes you It holds you accountable and it requires depth, not surface level approval. But if you want a strong life, if you want relationships that last, you can't settle for people who only give you what's easy. You need people who give you what's real. Think about it. How many times have you kept someone in your life because they said the right things, but their actions never matched their words? How many times have you mistaken proximity for loyalty just because someone was around, even though they never truly showed up for you? That's the trap of fake support. It makes you believe you're surrounded, but in reality, you're standing alone. And sometimes that false sense of security is more dangerous than being truly alone, because it keeps you from seeking the genuine connections you deserve. One of the best ways to recognize fake support is to watch people's behavior when you're not at your best. Who checks in when you're quiet? Who notices when your energy shifts? Who offers help when there's nothing to gain? Fake supporters often fade when things aren't going well because they weren't there for you. They were there for the benefits of being around you. Genuine people, on the other hand, lean in when times are hard. They see your value whether you're winning or struggling because their connection to you isn't based on circumstances, it's based on respect. Another way to spot the difference is how people handle your growth. Fake supporters will secretly resent your progress. They may smile, but behind closed doors, they'll downplay your success or try to bring you back to their level. Genuine people celebrate your wins like they're their own. They're not intimidated by your growth because they're secure in themselves. They know your rise doesn't diminish them, and they're proud to see you elevate. Recognizing fake support versus genuine value also requires you to be brutally honest with yourself. Sometimes we cling to fake supporters because we don't want to face the pain of letting go. We tell ourselves, at least they're here, even when deep down, we know they don't truly value us. But that mindset only keeps you trapped. You can't build a meaningful life on counterfeit connections. It's better to stand with 2 or 3 people who truly value you than to be surrounded by 20 who only pretend. And here's the truth. Your life will change the moment you stop tolerating fake support. When you start requiring real value in the people around you, you raise the standard of your relationships. You stop entertaining those who drain you, and you start attracting those who add to you. That's when you create a circle that's not just present, but powerful. That's when you surround yourself with people who lift you higher, who call out your potential, and who remind you of your worth when you forget. But this shift won't happen until you value yourself first. Because here's the key, people treat you based on what you allow. If you allow fake support to remain in your life, if you settle for shallow validation, you're signaling to the world that it's acceptable. But when you value yourself enough to demand authenticity, to cut ties with counterfeit connections, and to prioritize genuine relationships, you send a very different message. You show the world and yourself that your worth is non-negotiable. In the end, the choice is yours. You can surround yourself with fake support and keep living with disappointment, or you can do the harder work of building a circle of genuine value. One will drain you, the other will sustain you. One will leave you empty, the other will fill you, and the difference between the two will determine not only the quality of your relationships, but the quality of your entire life. So don't settle. Don't let flattery replace truth. Don't let empty words replace consistent actions. Don't let fake support convince you that you're valued when you know deep down you're not. Choose the harder road of seeking genuine value. It may take longer, it may feel lonelier at times, but in the end, it will give you the kind of relationships and the kind of life that's worth everything. The truth is, you don't just stumble upon the right people by chance. The right people are drawn to you based on the kind of life you build. If you want authentic relationships, respect, and a circle of people who truly value you, it starts with how you live. It starts with the choices you make, the standards you set, and the energy you project. You can't demand genuine connections if you're living a life built on pretense, insecurity, or compromise. You attract who you are, not what you wish for. That's why building a life that reflects strength, authenticity, and self-respect is the foundation for attracting the right people. When you live with clarity about your values, it becomes like a magnet. The right people recognize themselves in your principles. They see the way you stand firm, and it inspires them. People who thrive on truth, loyalty, and growth are naturally pulled towards someone who embodies those same qualities. But the opposite is also true. If your life is built on chasing approval, on settling for less, or on betraying your own worth, then you will keep drawing people who exploit that. Building a life that attracts the right people isn't just about waiting, it's about doing the work to become the kind of person who naturally draws them in. This starts with integrity. Integrity isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent. It's about saying what you mean and living in alignment with it. People notice when your actions and your words match. They notice when you show up in the same way, no matter who's watching. That consistency creates trust, and trust is what genuine people look for. The wrong ones might be entertained by a performance, but the right ones are looking for truth. And when they see that truth in you, they're drawn to it. Another part of building this life is having boundaries. Weak boundaries invite people who take advantage. Strong boundaries repel those who don't belong, and make space for those who respect them. When you make it clear what you will and will not tolerate, you automatically filter your circle. The wrong people fall away because they can't manipulate or misuse you. The right people stay because they admire your strength and honor your space. Boundaries aren't about pushing people out. They're about protecting your peace so the right ones can come in. Confidence also plays a role. Confidence doesn't mean arrogance. It means owning who you are without apology. It's walking into a room without needing validation. It's making decisions without second-guessing yourself, just to please others. People are drawn to that kind of quiet assurance. When you believe in yourself, you give others permission to believe in you too. The right people don't just admire confidence, they respect it. It shows them that you know your value, which in turn shows them how to value you. But building a life that attracts the right people also means being willing to grow. Stagnation repels the kind of people you need. The right people are not static, they're moving, evolving, reaching higher. If you want them to walk with you, you must also be willing to move. Growth is magnetic. When you're actively working on yourself, improving your mindset, pursuing your goals, becoming better day by day, it naturally draws in others who are doing the same. Together, you create an environment of mutual elevation instead of mutual stagnation. Let's not forget about authenticity. Authenticity is rare in a world where so many wear masks. But the right people crave it. They don't want you to play a role. They don't want perfection. They want real. They want to see your flaws, your struggles, and your truth, because that's where trust is built. The wrong people may only be comfortable with your mask, but the right ones will be drawn to your raw, unfiltered self. And when you live authentically, you give yourself the freedom to breathe, to be, and to stop performing. That freedom is powerful, and it resonates with people who are equally free. Sometimes building this kind of life requires pruning. You have to let go of the people who don't belong so that space is made for the ones who do. It's like a garden. You can't expect healthy plants to thrive if weeds are choking the soil. In the same way, you can't expect genuine people to enter your life if it's crowded with those who devalue you. The right people won't compete for space. They'll wait for you to clear it. And when you do, they'll step in naturally. But the most important part of all is patience. The right people don't always show up immediately. Sometimes the season of building feels lonely. You'll question if the effort is worth it. But remember, it's better to walk alone in integrity than to walk with people who diminish you. When you commit to living authentically, setting boundaries and growing consistently, eventually the right people will find you. And when they do, the connection will feel natural, effortless, and solid. It won't be forced. It won't be one-sided. It will be real. So ask yourself, what kind of life am I building? Am I creating a life that attracts respect, authenticity, and genuine value? Or am I living in a way that tolerates disrespect and keeps me surrounded by the wrong crowd? The answer to that question will determine who shows up in your life. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If you want honesty, be honest. If you want loyalty, be loyal. If you want respect, respect yourself first. The life you build becomes the filter. It becomes the magnet. And in time, it will bring the right people to your side. And when those right people show up, you'll realize why it was worth it. You'll see why you had to walk away from those who didn't value you, why you had to endure the silence of walking alone, why you had to hold the line with your boundaries. Because in the end, it wasn't just about finding the right people, it was about becoming the kind of person who attracts them in the first place. That's how you build a life that doesn't just look good on the outside, but feels strong, safe, and true on the inside. At the end of the day, you have to decide what kind of life you want to live. Do you want to keep walking with people who drain you, disrespect you, and never truly see your worth? Or do you want to take the harder, braver path? The one where you stand alone if you must, but stand with your dignity intact. The truth is, it's always better to stand alone than to walk with those who don't value you. Because being surrounded by people who don't respect you is the loneliest place you'll ever be. When you choose yourself, you begin to build a life rooted in strength. You stop chasing fake support and start demanding genuine value. You create boundaries that protect your peace. You learn the courage to walk alone, and in doing so, discover your true power. And as you grow, you naturally attract the right people. People who lift you, challenge you, and remind you of your worth. Don't let fear trick you into settling. Don't let loneliness convince you that any company is better than no company. The wrong crowd will cost you your dreams, your peace, and your self-respect. But solitude will build you, refine you, and prepare you for something greater. So if you find yourself standing alone, don't see it as a punishment. See it as preparation. See it as proof that you are strong enough to protect your value, even when no one else does. And when the right people come, and they will, you'll be ready. Ready not because you need them, but because you've built a life worthy of them. Your value is not up for negotiation. Your peace is not a bargain. And your worth is not determined by who chooses to walk with you. Stand strong, stand tall, and if necessary, stand alone, because that kind of strength will always lead you to the life and the people you truly deserve.